Feature 1, which is there, which you are deploying, and let's say feature 2 is there, feature 3 is there. Now let's say these features which are there being available for you. Now, when you have these features, ultimately, when you deploy things, what happens? Let's say I am the manager and I say that, okay, I am, let's say, deploying. Is it not visible or what, everyone? It is visible, right? Wait. Swati is asking something. She's saying, what is Jenkins? It is not needed, Swati, as of now. We'll come to that, right? Don't worry. Okay. So you have one feature. Let's say you are launching a Zomato app. And in Zomato app, let's say you are adding some new features which are there. Let's say I am adding feature where is a 5-minute delivery. In that, there is a another workflow I've integrated. Okay. The driver will come to the store, pick, and it will be a rapid process. There is one section we have added for dining. And to promote people consume these apps more, I have, so this was feature 1. This was feature 2, where we have added an offer section that, okay, we will be running 50% off on dining this month. Third feature can be that, okay, this week or this, we will be enhancing our application where we'll make sure that we'll be adding some puzzles and we'll increase the time for the people where they will be playing games. And when they play the game, they will be using vouchers. And these vouchers, they will be doing the branding of their advertisements, which they have got from the promoters. Let's say they want to promote some, let's say, some hair oil, some shower gel, anything which they want. So they will be saying that, okay, you have won this game and we are offering you 50% discount. And they will be doing some kind of branding. So these enhancement of these features they have added, right? Now there will be something which you want to go on a everyday basis. The releases should be fast, right? So when you're adding some of the major workflows, right? If you see this is kind of a workflow, correct? Now these workflow can be a very crucial strategic decisions of the organization. So at least plan that, okay, when your major decisions, try to roll it out as a part of a quarter, right? 3 months, right? Now something where you are offering, let's say, offer of the month or something, try to roll out, let's say, on a monthly basis. But when you are playing games, doing promotions, and you are actively running feeds of some customers, right? Okay, puzzles and games. This you can try to do, let's say, 5 releases in a day. Correct? That can be a example that how you are actually planning your releases. That is a design approach. Being a manager, which you will be taking to make sure what is crucial. Some crucial workflow, make sure you're not doing on a everyday basis or very soon. It may crash or it may cause operational issues. Right, everyone? So usually most of your pipelines or most of your deployment process, they are there to deploy, let's say, services to make all the deployments automated. That is what the approach. So if you have a developer and you have seen that diagram which I was showing you earlier, so let's say you have the developer, correct? And this developer is sending you, or let's say you're using a code repository, and I have created code repository, let's say on GitHub. So what everyone will do today, or maybe that is something which you can take as an assignment, you have to create a GitHub private repository. correct? For that, you have to create your own account, create your own account on GitHub. Second thing, what you will do when you have created your account, you can create your private repository. Now, what you'll do, since it is a private repository, you will do a cloning or clone this repository in your laptop. In your laptop. Now, there will be two options. One is cloning with the help of HTTPS link, right? The other option will be via SSH, right? Most of the time, you will prefer in the organizations the SSH part. I'm not saying HTTPS is not good, but whenever you are making any changes, creating branch, pushing changes to your internal repositories, SSH is a best and the secured one which you should be using, and it's more of a web request, right? You are using HTTPS only for the web traffic, but this you can use as an internal server based traffic. So this is something which is preferred. Both will do the same task, but there is something which is preferred. So you can you can generate a SSH key and integrate that SSH key in the repository for security. Correct? In the security. Is it clear, everyone? Yes, this all can happen on a microservice architecture, Mahesh, if that is your question. In fact, if you ask me which one to prefer, I will always suggest go with a containerized application. Go with a Docker-based application instead of VM, because containers help you in and provide you better portability. Why did we learn as container virtualization better and application portability was better? Why did we say that? Now, who will answer me this? This is an interview question as well. Why do we prefer both? VMs are cheap, they can provide you the same thing. Auto scaling is easy, custom image can be used. Why do we use, or why do we still use or think of using a containerized environment? And it is nowhere related that it is tightly packed or loosely packed. If you're thinking that, okay, the answer is tightly packed and loosely packed, I'm not talking about the code changes. What do you think? Why do we say it is portable? Why do we say it is portable? We don't have to worry about environment, as in when you say platform independent, what does it mean? Means I can unmute if you raise your hand, anyone who wants to answer. Okay. Mahesh, go ahead.
I mean, it is. I mean, we can portable to any OS platforms.
So your answer is right. Can you explain? Let's say you are part of the interview. You have to explain this. How can you
Oh,
justify this?
explain. Okay, like let's say like I will. I mean, deploy container in Windows-based platform.
Hmm.
Then later, if I want to move it to the VM having Linux, then I can do that.
Correct. So that is a perfect answer, right? That is what is a answer of portability.
Yes.
Today, from the application on VM, you have to tweak your code which you have written for Azure VM if you're moving to an EC2 instance in AWS. But if you have a platform which is microservice architecture, or it is a containerized application, you are using Docker here as well, you're using Docker there as well. Getting the point?
Yes,
Docker
yes.
is here also, Docker is there also. You just easily migrate the application, right? Is there. Correct, everyone? So, Mahesh, there was a lot of background noise. I have muted you. So, your answer is absolutely right. So, that is one of the reasons people adopt microservices architecture because it is easy to or it is portable enough to do it. And that is what the interviewers are looking for that how you are confident being an architect, which service or which type of deployment you will be choosing. Correct, everyone? The people who have questions, please raise your hand. Other, please lower it down. Mahesh, if no more questions, please lower it down. It means Mahesh has questions. Mahesh, go ahead, please.
Actually, I mean, just the previous diagram of yours, I mean, build server, then deploy server, then to the production server, right? So actual deployment will be taken care by deploy server, not build server, right?
Yes. And
Okay,
that's
that's
what I was coming you. The in diagram which I was showing you on the slide, right?
uh,
So
uh,
ultimately, that is the place where your deployment happens. And that is
yes,
where I was contradicting with Mansi that build server is responsible for there. Ultimately, the runtime or the binary files is nothing. But when you create these binary files, the purpose is only that whatever runtime environment you have installed, your compiler should able to read it. So let's say you're using a Jenkins environment. Jenkins environment provide you a containerized environment which will help you to provide compute and run that piece of code. Correct? When you
yes,
run that piece of the code, that is what is the build server doing. And that compute is happening at the machine level. And that is just a piece of binary code which is there. Right? So let me just unmute Mansi as well. I'll come to Mansi. First is Raz. Raz, go ahead, please. Raz, any questions? You raise your hand.
Sir, as yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go
Sir,
ahead.
as compared to VM and this container,
Mhm.
so the container resource utilization is also less. So that could be also a reason.
See, when your application is running 24 cross 7, right? Then in that case, your containers usually are running almost 24 cross 7, right? It is not a event triggered job, correct? But the benefit of the containerized application is let's say you have a front end, right? As soon as the traffic comes to the front end, it will trigger the back end. You're getting the point? So only one part of the application running, rest are sitting idle, no need resting. So whenever you don't need the other processes, they are not being used, they are resting. So that will save the resources, not consume the resources. They will not be doing anything. Only one part of the application where, let's say, your public IP or the URL is being hit, that part will keep on running. But let's say you click on something, it will go to somewhere, it will go to database, it will fetch to the application, nothing is running. It will be triggered from the front end that, okay, yes, now the work has started. Now we should run the process. You got it, Rajnish? Or who was it? Raz? Whoever asked that question. Is that clear, Raz? I hope that is fine. Okay. Next is Mansi. Mansi, go ahead, please. Rajnish, I'll come to you.
You said you have given this assignment, create a GitHub private repository, but it's not opening on my browser. So, um, can I do it through VS Code?
Means this is, I'm saying that you can try this. This we will be doing, right? I'm saying that this is an input. If you want to try it over the weekend, you can do it. There is no problem in this.
Actually, I haven't tried on VS Code. Could you please show how to open GitHub on VS Code?
Not right now, Mansi. Once we'll come to it. This is for the people who want, you can try for additional, but we'll be doing this as a part of the activity. We'll first complete the concepts, then we'll come to this.
Okay. And Linux terminal, I think for this we need Linux terminal. So how can we
Uh,
create?
Linux terminal, I think WSL you can install on your machine. Windows subsystem for Linux. I think that will offer you that. The second option is you can create a, or you can use uh, create a ticket and get the approval for Oracle VirtualBox or VMware Workstation, and that will also help you. Both things will work for you.
Amazon Linux, will it work?
Amazon Linux will also work.
Will work. Okay. Okay, fine.
But you will only have access to the CLI. Right, on Amazon Linux, you have to be well confident on the CLI part that yes, I am able to do the code part or create the repositories. You will not be getting the VS Code GUI because most of the Linux machines which you are running on the cloud, you don't get the GUI part of that. You'll be only getting the CLI access,
So Linux CLI, right?
the Linux CLI.
We can do that, I think.
Means if you're comfortable, I'm fine with it. Usually people want a GUI of VS Code, which you usually don't get in your unless until you install a Linux VM on your laptop.
No, we have learned Linux, so I think that will help. That is enough.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Next is Rajneesh. Rajneesh, go ahead, please.
Sir, in this continuous delivery, you said the release reliably. Where we release the reliably and sub application
In this part, okay. So
above.
okay, so let me just complete this. Then you can ask your question, Rajneesh. Just give me 1 minute. Let me just complete this process. Then
Okay,
we'll come,
sir.
right? Okay, fair enough. So now let's say you have your code repository, and this repository purpose is where your application code is residing. Your application code is residing. So let's say you have created a small code for, let's say, VM creation, correct? You keep in this repository, it is being kept there idle, right? Doing nothing. At this point of time, it is not doing anything because you have just pushed the code to the repository. I'm not talking about the next step. Now, let's say when you have a build server in place, correct? This repository, and this is a second phase, correct? So this part which you were talking over here, now we are talking about this part, second phase, right? Deploying resources to AWS. Now let's come back to this. So when you have this build server, now the code repository have, let's say, the new entry up, and we have the next step, right? When you push the code and you have no further actions, there is nothing happening. The code is sitting idle over here. But let's say you have integrated some build server. It can be code build, it can be Jenkins, Atlantis, Morpheus, anything which is there, right? Whatever you're using, ultimately you will have, or this build server will start fetching the code. It will fetch the code. And okay, give me the latest code. Earlier, the code which was being deployed on the application server was version 1. Now, let's say I want to deploy on the server is version 2. So this was my previous state of the code. This version 2 is the new code on this, right? Now, earlier, developer was having a previous code version 1. Now, developer has enhanced it to a version 2. And when it pushed the code, it is the version 2 it has pushed. Version 1 was already there. So it's like a branch which he has created, and that is being uploaded into the code repository. So he must have done what? He must have created a branch. That branch part we'll see once we talk about GitHub. We'll come to that. Now you fetch the code. Sorry, the build server will fetch the code, which means now it has the latest code available, right? It has the latest code available, which is version 2. Now, in phase 1, when you are doing the continuous integration, what you have done, developer has tested that, okay, the code is fine. There is no syntax error. Everything is working fine. Now it is the time when you deploy it to the, whether to the application servers with the help of a deployment servers, right? So what you do, let's say you push the code, to a deployment server. You can push this code to a deployment server. Now there are a lot of things, right? Sometimes you can have separate build and deployment server. Sometimes you can use a common build and deployment server. So they will be doing different tasks, but the compute when we were running these devices on on-prem environment, when we were doing it onto the on-prem environment, we didn't use multiple servers for, okay, this is my build server, this is my deployment server. We just did what? We just created VMs, and on that VMs we ran that, okay, this is some build server is running, this is my deployment server is running, and they were interacting with each other. So now let's say build server has fetched the recent code, okay, it has the version 2. Now version 2 is fully tested with errors. That, okay, no syntax error, build is fine, test passed. Now this version 2 has to be moved to, let's say, staging, prod, pre-prod, wherever is there. Ultimately, this has to go to the server, right? Not the building part, not the validation part, not the error checking part. And now my next phase is to deploy it onto the application. So here you will deploy every past build, past build. So build which has been passed. Any build which has been phased will need recorrection, help from the developer, review the code, redeploy. That is the deploy process. So whatever build has been passed, that will be assigned to the deployment server. Now, ultimately, this deployment server will do what? That, okay, I am doing on, I have to host it, this application, and there will be, let's say, multiple application servers. Let's say you're using a multi-AZ environment, correct? And let's say there were multiple servers which were being running over here. Let's say this is my one server. This is another server. This is another server which is there. You have three servers. Let's say this is the application server. This is application server. This is application server, correct? Now, when you have this application server is connected, or it is receiving inputs from where? The deployment server, because this is the one who has been integrated to the repository that to do this task. This has been designed for the same servers, right? But now let's say this is running version 1 of the code, correct? Sorry, version 1 of the code. Now, ultimately, my plan is that I want the newer version of the code to be running. I don't want the older version of the code to be deployed, or older version of the application which is running. So what I want the new code. I want the one which is running the new version. So let's say I have, or the new code is being updated, correct? The same servers which were running the previous code. Now what they say that, okay, we have received a new updated code, and the application servers, you were running version 1. Now it is time to run version 2 of the same code. Version 2. So you have a multi-AZ environment. So now the code will be replaced onto the servers, which is there. And after that, they will be triggered, or the build will be triggered on the server that, okay, now there's a new version which is running, and now you start using it. Now, after that, the application is re-triggered and it is successfully deployed with version 2. And you can easily test it that, okay, now build is successful and we can start using the code. So your application server, they are running on version 2 now. Make sense, everyone? Clear? Is it fine with everyone? Okay, so let's take the question from Mansi. Mansi, you raised your hand. I don't see that now. Any question, Mansi? Okay, let's come to Rajneesh.
Sir, you said the developer push the code to code repository, but how will we code repository fetch code to build server and deploy to deployment server? How will this happen, sir?
So this is happening with the help of pipeline. This
Pipeline.
this is what my pipeline. This is what we'll be doing. This is what we
Who?
integrate with the help of a pipeline.
Okay, sir.
Correct? That is what
Uh,
my job or that is what my pipeline will help us to do. And this is
okay.
what is a code pipeline.
Sir, this build server is tested and error.
So
Who test the
no, no, no. Okay. So let's say if I'm saying, okay, remove this line. So build server is the one who is which is here as well, right?
build and
So
test?
build and test. Now, when your build and test result are passed, then in that case you will go to the deployment server. Otherwise, you are going back to the developer for review. That okay, make changes to the code. Errors are there.
Sir,
This developer will be fixing it.
sir,
Error
on the build server, have a testing engineer also available, sir?
testing engineer means
Tester, software tester.
uh, so let's say you have a developer, right? In case, let's say, usually what developers does, developer is provided with test cases, right? Test cases. Now, tester is responsible for these test cases. When you are talking about the initial development, initial build, you don't need a tester, first of all, right? But let's say assume you want to have a test cases being tested. So at that time, your pipeline, when it has successfully deployed the code onto the dev environment or the staging environment, then your tester will be testing the application with the test cases. Right, Rajnish?
Yes, sir.
Right? Tester job is to test the application when it has been deployed. But here what we are talking about, we are talking about developer has built a new feature and he wants to enhance the code with that feature. Tester will test it once that feature has been deployed onto the application server.
Okay, sir.
Right?
Okay, sir.
So,
Thank you.
and nowadays developers and most of them, they have been received with the test cases. Okay, these are the test cases, you execute it, right? And they can execute themselves. In cases, sometimes if testing team is separate, you can use or those application will be provided, the dev and staging environment will be given to the testers. They will test it rigorously, and they will be sharing the result. Okay, these things are fine, but these things needs to be reviewed. And then the developer will again work on the other things, right? Just like a continuous integration, which when you release, let's say, one feature, that one feature will be tested. You will not wait for the entire 10 features or the entire software to be ready. You created one feature, send it to the tester for testing. You quickly deploy it. And that is why this CI/CD pipeline is helpful. You developed one feature, deploy it, and your tester will start using it. Make sense, Rajnish?
Yes, sir.
Correct? And that is why that has increased the speed of delivery of the product. Correct, everyone? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fair enough. Next is Mansi. Mansi, please go ahead.
No, I was telling you when the pipeline part you were discussing now.
Yeah.
I mean this one, yeah.
Yeah.
So the version one you said, and version two. I mean there is SCM poll that automatically picks updated code,
Okay.
and
Okay.
through that it gets triggered
So
the new
you are
pipe.
talking about the SCCM patches?
No, SCM poll like second minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Then
Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. Yes. Yes. They are there. So basically, when your deployment server is there and new build is triggered, whether you are using Elastic Beanstalk or web app services, right? So usually means I will okay. So I'm assuming that everyone knows Elastic Beanstalk, so or Azure App Services. So basically, in that case, is what happens when you have a ready-made environment available with you. So in that case, your application, let's say it is running on version 1, and your application will have a direct integration with the GitHub, because you you integrate the GitHub with your application environment, right? So as soon as you have updated or created a branch and you have pushed that as a build, so that build will be executed or deployed onto the server.